Hello again, Kate Sparks here. I should be working right now. I should be drafting. My kids are home for a snow day. Again, I feel like I've done videos on snow days before. This just feels like a really good thing to do to allow me to feel productive even on days when I can't really focus on my writing because distractions, interruptions, etc. tend to be kind of high when the kids are home. I've actually been meaning to do this video for a little while. Last week, I guess it was just last week, I did my first live reading at a local library. And that was nerve-wracking for me. You may not have picked up on this based on my videos, but I am not a fantastic public speaker. I'm not a confident speaker. I'm a confident writer. I'm not a confident speaker. I say a lot. You may have noticed. I speak slowly and I have to pause to choose my words while I'm speaking. That doesn't make for a really exciting and dynamic public speaker. And while I'm okay with that, that's not my job. If somebody comes to see me at an event somewhere, I want it to be a pleasant experience for them. I want them to leave feeling good and feeling entertained. So what I did was I went on Facebook in a couple of very supportive groups that I'm in, and I asked people for suggestions. So since people were so kind and so helpful to me, I thought what I would do today is I would share a couple of those tips that really help me out in case they help any of you in the future. Now these aren't groundbreaking things. This isn't big news. This isn't something that you've absolutely never heard before, and it's a magical tip that will make you confident and well-spoken, and my phone is ringing and I'll be right back. Okay, so the school is staying closed for the whole day, so guess I will actually have to do some drafting later. Now what was I saying? Oh right, people were so nice to me that I'm going to pass the tips along in case it will help you. The first tip was, again, this is fairly obvious, but to prepare and to do it early. And I am a terrible procrastinator, so this was actually a really good tip for me. One that I probably should have thought of myself, but given how I generally approach things, what I would have done is I would have gone, I know my own books pretty well. I've read them like 12 or 13 times each through the production process. It'll be fine. I'll just wing it. That's not a good idea. I didn't start preparing right away. I will admit that. I did still procrastinate a bit, but I got on Facebook and I asked my street team and I asked on my author page for people to help me choose readings. And this is not as simple as you might think, because while my books do have a lot of exciting action sequences and surprising twists that I absolutely love, and passages of writing that I'm incredibly proud of, and wonderful romantic moments, and big reveals, and dialogue that still makes me laugh, when you're talking to an audience who hasn't read the books before, it can be a little bit disorienting for them if they have no idea what's going on. So you do want to give a little bit of background information to help things make sense. And for me, a lot of the scenes that I would have loved to read to people were either too long, and it was too hard to take just a little 5-minute reading snippet out of them, or they required way too much backstory, or they were full of spoilers. So I ended up picking, for anybody who's read Bound, this will make sense to you, I did When Rowan Finds the Eagle, and the healing that follows, and the first appearance of one of my merfolk. Both sections did require a little bit of backstory leading up to them, and I prepared that as well. The next tip that I have on my list is to practice, and that's one of the reasons that you want to prepare early, is so that you have lots of time to practice. And I did remember to practice almost every day, I think. I practiced the readings first, just to make sure that I had actually settled on what I wanted to read. And then once I had the readings down, then I practiced my introductions to the readings. And I practiced those on my own, and I practiced them for my cats and dogs. And that's as far as I got. I would say that if you have willing friends or family members who would be happy to listen to you practice and maybe give you tips on volume or pacing or expression, that would be wonderful. That was something that Honestly, I felt really awkward asking anybody to do that for me. Maybe next time. That's not to say I didn't get feedback from my pets though, because I'm not good at doing voices, which makes reading dialogue difficult, especially where, you know, I leave off dialogue attributions where I can, so it's not always he said and she said. But I did find that if my chihuahua was in another room while I was reading, he would start barking when I did different voices. So I kind of took that as positive feedback. So, okay, actual human feedback would probably be a really good tip. And I'm going to throw that in there even though I didn't use it. So yeah, I had a couple of weeks to practice and prepare, and I did. And those two things combined really helped with my confidence. I think if I had gone unprepared, and if I had either just, you know, been reading off of a page and just, this is my introduction, and this is the book that I wrote, and here's what it's about, and this is what I'm going to read to you, that wouldn't have been fun for anybody. But if I had gone in and decided to just wing it, that wouldn't have been fun for me either, because it would have been all, and then I would have started the reading and I would have gone, oh, by the way, you also need to know this and this and this. So I'm really glad that I took time to prepare, I took time to practice. That was good. The other tip that I have here is more something that I picked up in listening to other authors talk about their readings rather than something that was actually given to me as a piece of advice, and that is just roll with the punches. I'm the kind of person who likes to go into a situation very prepared, and yes, I am the kind of person who, if I need to have a conversation with you, I will rehearse it 10 or a dozen times in my head, and if you go off script, that's going to make things really hard for me. But the thing is, especially with something like a reading or a book signing or something like this, it's not like a meeting or a seminar where people have to attend. You don't know how many people are actually going to come, and you don't necessarily get to pick your audience. So I decided before I went that whatever happened, it was going to be fine. There were 2 authors doing readings, and I figured if it was just me and the other author and the librarian and the wonderful woman who was organizing all of this, then we could sit and talk books, you know, and maybe we could still do our readings and we could practice for each other, and it would be good that way. As it turned out, I actually thought that was going to happen because we had horrible weather on that day. Like, we've got a snow day outside right now, and I don't think this is quite as bad as it was that day. We also had the town's winter carnival thing going on, which was great in one way because it was a place to advertise the library reading. But it also meant there was other stuff going on in town and other things for people to do if they did decide to leave their houses. So I honestly didn't think that anybody was going to come. As it turned out, there was a nice little audience, and so that was good. I mean, it's nice to see bodies in the seats. Excuse me, I think I'm getting a cold. It was not a typical audience for my books. These are people who came out to the library because they wanted to hear the readings, and that was wonderful. They were a good audience. They sat, they listened to me. I didn't get a lot of feedback. I didn't get a lot of questions. If I tried to make jokes or something funny came up in the book, there wasn't necessarily a lot of feedback from that, and that was fine. What I did there was I found 2 people in the audience who were very engaged listeners, who were leaning forward, who were smiling, who were open, who were encouraging, and I focused on them. I made eye contact with them, and I tried to make eye contact with other people when I looked up from my book during my readings or when I was doing my introductions, but I had found a couple of people who were sitting there who were really listening, and if I started to get discouraged and feel like I wasn't really connecting with anybody, I could go back to them. And I think that's a good tip too. And I think that's a way better tip than picturing the audience in their underwear. Honestly, that would have made me really uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm going to add that as a tip there. Find the people who are listening, focus on them, make them your anchors. So that's kind of how I got through it. I didn't have big expectations. I didn't expect roaring laughter at my jokes, and I certainly didn't expect to find anybody who was already a raving fan of my work. Although I did end up meeting a few people who either had read bound or who are in the process of reading it, which was really cool. And I got to sign a couple of books, and that was way more than I expected. It was a good experience, and I think I got more out of it because I didn't go in with specific expectations. I got there early. I got there prepared for it to be a tiny thing with nobody showing up, but I was also prepared in case a whole lot of people came. And I knew what I was doing, and I was ready to talk to people if they wanted to talk to me. I was ready to just take off and have coffee and a couple sandwiches if nobody wanted to talk to me after. And it was great. It was a wonderful experience for me. I did get to meet another local author who I hadn't met before. As I said, I got to meet a couple of people who had read my books and who were enjoying them, which is fantastic. So yeah, it was a really good experience. It was challenging, and it was really hard for me to get up there and present my work because I don't even know what it is. Like, I'm so proud of my books, and I think they're good books. And while I was going through them and trying to pick my readings and starting to read things out loud, I realized how much I love these stories and how much I really want to go back and just read them again. But I have trouble presenting that to people. So this was hard for me, and it was really, really good for me. This was a huge case of me stepping out of my comfort zone, getting out there, doing something that made me uncomfortable, but something that I think ultimately helped me grow a little bit and get a little bit more confident. And next time I'm offered an opportunity like this, I will absolutely take it again. Other than that, I guess my other tips would be yourself, be prepared to fill whatever time you're offered, be comfortable. Oh, that's a good tip too, be comfortable. I didn't get dressed up really fancy. I did look presentable. There are pictures posted on my social media on Facebook and Instagram. Spoiler alert, I wore a sweater, but that was really important too. If I had been wearing uncomfortable shoes, or if I had felt like I was dressed up like someone who wasn't myself, I think I would have been a lot more awkward. As it was, I felt like I looked good, but I was comfortable, and as such, I was able to act like myself, and I think that was okay. If you have any questions about that, leave me a comment there and I will try to answer in the comments. Oh, thank you so much to people who commented last week and who offered me encouragement. Last week was when I posted about my decision to use a pen name for my new series, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who commented either here or other places where I posted the link, and who offered me encouragement and who said that you will absolutely follow me to whatever new genres I want to try and whatever new names I want to use. I really appreciated that. So thank you so much. Thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for sitting here and listening to me. I hope this was helpful to somebody. If you have any other questions you want me to answer in videos, leave those in the comments. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later.